welcome to Beer and Food episode number 12 of
Brutal Battle.
So it has been over a year since we've done a beer and food pairing episode. So apologies for anyone who likes this format.
And sorry for those who thought we got rid of it.
Oh yeah.
If there's anybody out there.
Because it's back. The thing is, I've had so many formats that sometimes I just lose track of one or two. The other thing is the beer and food ones. They take longer, typically. This one won't, but they take longer typically.
They require more planning.
Yes.
A lot of the other ones were just like, let's record tonight.
Plus, the other thing is, how many different things can you do at your home with food and beer before you're like kind of repeating it a bit? Yeah. So we've done 11 prior to this episode, so we've kind of hit a lot.
Cheese?
Yeah.
We've done cheese.
We've done cheese. We've done cookies. We've done
ice cream,
chips. We've done ice cream.
Corn nuts.
We've done nuts. We've done a lot. So it's,
we've done a lot of snack foods.
One of my favorites was the leftover Halloween candy.
Oh, yeah.
That episode was super cool. And that's where we got the pairing of Trogue's Jovial with Skittles, which is amazing. Yeah, you wouldn't think so, but it is. But this is like one of the other ones we did where we did a beer dinner that was at Uncle's, and that one was fun. That was a Union Craft Brewing's beer dinner at Uncle's. So this one was a special beer dinner that we did at BC Brewery for Valentine's Day. So when this is going up, I know it's not super close to Valentine's Day, but
close enough.
This is just when we were able to sit down and record this. But while we were there, we were super nerds. We took notes. I took very detailed notes.
Yeah, Carlin took notes and I was like, does this sound good? And I'm like, yeah. And I just was like eating and drinking.
So it wasn't just me. Like I would write up some stuff. I'd show it to Rebecca. She'd throw in her 2 cents.
Well, I was more involved in the beginning of the meal. And then as the meal...
Because someone had a lot of fun.
Someone had a lot of fun until the end of the night.
It was decided part of the way into the meal that I would go ahead and be the designated driver.
We decided that before.
Before we started?
Well, I mean...
I thought into like this... It was like the second course or something we decided.
In my mind, it was decided before.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't really care because I was fine just having a little bit of stuff. But anyway, Rebecca wanted more because it was kind of like open bar.
Yeah, kind of.
The cool thing about it is they closed the brewery down. So only the people who bought tickets to this beer dinner could get in. Mm-hmm. And they, you sat down at the tables. There's just one big room. And they would bring the courses to you. And they would bring the beers to you as well. And they would start you with just 4-ounce pour at first. Because they said that they had done another one of these beer dinners. And people had said it was too much beer. So they're like, this is the way we'll do it. We'll start you off with 4-ounce pour for each of the courses. And then if you want more, you just ask your server for more. And you can just have it.
But you also could ask your server for anything they had on tap.
Right. It wasn't just the pairing beers. It was whatever else they have on tap. And they have like 20-some taps. Yeah.
So that's what was.
So that's what happened to Rebecca, basically.
Yeah. So it started at 3 on a Sunday. And you got there and it was just nice and relaxed. And like, okay, go ahead, go up to the bar and get yourself a pour of beer and find yourself an empty seat. And it just was like, it was nice, but also like relaxed.
Right.
It was, so do you want me to start talking about the first course?
Well, first I want to say that we had starter beers.
Oh yes, our starter beers.
Yeah, so we should talk about our starter beers. And that's kind of how it was, is they encourage you, like they said, when you show up, before you sit down, each of you just get a beer. So you have a beer to start the meal. And then you got your beers with the courses after that.
Yeah.
So what did you chose for yours? Do you remember? I have it written down.
I remember. The cranberry Kolsch.
Yes. Which, of the 2 starter beers, I liked the cranberry Kolsch more than what I got. Mine was good. I did the Mamma Mia Italian Pilsner. It was it's just, with Pilsners, I like it to be less serious. Like, it had more citrusy notes than I would assume from a Pilsner, and it was more of a thicker mouthfeel than I'm used to. And it wasn't as like much of a crisp snap to it and like a honey finish. It just wasn't particularly what I was looking for in a Pilsner. It was good, but that cranberry Kolsch was just like, it. had a real nice, refreshing finish to it. You could taste the cranberry, but it wasn't crazy. Yeah. Had a nice Kolsch flavor to it. It's just very crisp, very clean, very tasty.
Yeah.
That's a really good beer.
It was really good.
Okay, so then we did our first course.
So the first course was a shared plate. It was a cheese board. It had a smoked salmon mousse, sweet nuts, manchego, bread, apple onion chutney, and now I already forget how to pronounce this.
Cornicones. There you go. Thank you, Siri.
There we go.
Cornicones.
Which are those, which, for anyone who doesn't know, are those little sweet pickles.
Yeah.
And that was paired with their Cabernet, which is their new beer wine hybrid, which was 12%.
So we actually have in front of us that Cabernet. We're only drinking one beer for this episode, and that is the beer because everyone who came got a bottle. Each couple got a bottle to take home with them, a 22-ounce bottle. And it was nice at a wax top, which is why I'm not opening it on podcast, because wax tops take a while, so I did it beforehand. So it's already poured in the glass and everything. But the wax top had like a stamp on the top that was like two little hearts overlapping.
It was cute.
So it says BC Brewery Valentine's Beer Dinner. Valentine's Beer Dinner. Cabernet Beer Wine Hybrid, gluten-free, 10.3% ABV, 13 IBUs. So, let's evaluate it. Let's get into it, evaluate our normal way, and then we'll talk about that course and how the beer was with the course.
Okay. So this is a really pretty color, and it looks like it could be a wine.
Yeah, no, it definitely...
Color-wise, like maybe like a Pinot Noir type color.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's on the closer to clear side for a red wine look. Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely say like Pinot Noir, but you can see the bubbles hanging out in there, and there's a little head.
So it's not a wine because of the carbonation.
Well, but if you told someone it was a carbonated wine,
that's true. I guess there are some. So never mind. Yeah.
So what do you smell on it? You definitely smell red wine grapes.
Yeah, I mean it smells very red winey.
Yeah, it smells. I smell like cherry. I smell a little strawberry, maybe. I was
going to say raspberry.
Yep. Bunch of berry, that cherry in there. It's very tannic. Mm-hmm. You know how you have that kind of like chalky, bitter tannic note from the skins. Really smell a lot of that. It smells kind of woody too.
Yeah, there's sweetness. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, not just from the berry sweetness. There's another type of sweetness.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like a sugary type sweet that's coming in on it. But it also smells a little beer-like because I feel like I smell like a maltiness to it as well, which is interesting because it's kind of just almost seamlessly folding its way into the nose. But it smells a lot like a wine and not so much like a beer.
So I just took my first sips. It's definitely not as sweet as the nose leads you to believe.
Right.
And then it definitely can tell it's a beer.
Mm-hmm. I definitely taste where it tastes like a combination of like unfermented grape juice with some other notes coming in, like the raspberry, the strawberry, the cherry.
Yeah.
It just like mixed with actual like Cabernet. You know, like that's what it seems like. And it is a lot sweeter than you would assume a wine is, which is why it's kind of weird when you first sip it. Because the beginning of the flavor is like, oh, this is a red wine. And then it gets really sweet for a wine. And then you're just like, this is not a wine.
Yeah. It is.
And it's just interesting. You have to get used to it.
Very confusing. So I don't like this as much as I remember liking it that night.
I like it. The thing is, if you're a red wine lover, you're probably not going to love this.
Yeah. Because
you probably just rather have red wine. But if you like a sweeter wine, if you like some of red wine, but you want it to be sweeter.
Like a sweet red. Like I feel like people who like sangria would like this.
Yes.
And that's what they talked about.
Jim Wagner.
Yes.
Which, full disclosure, we know the head brewer and part owner, Jim Wagner. We've known him for many years. So, you know.
That's right. And he did say it's kind of like a sangria. And now that I'm drinking this, I definitely
Yeah, it's very sangria-like.
Yeah.
Which I'm typically not in sangria. I think it's not... Like, sangria is a little gross-ish to me.
Yeah.
This is not that, in my opinion. I don't think it's as sweet as sangria. And there is a bit of a beer quality to it. The other thing is sangria doesn't have carbonation. So that's another big thing. But
well, sometimes it does, because sometimes I feel like they'll add like soda water. It
or
depends.
like champagne.
Yeah, I think it depends on your
Yeah.
sangria recipe, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I like this, and I'm happy to keep sipping it.
I had too much of it that night, so I'm not.
So you have bad feelings?
I'm trying to be very objective, though.
So the way I'm going to go through on talking about the course, the beer, and all that, I'm going to talk about the food itself, then I'm going to talk about the beer itself, what we said, and then I'm going to talk about the combination of the two, kind of what they did to each other. The food, I said it was a good board of cheese and whatnot, because it's like charcuterie. It was a good board with great smoked salmon mousse and a very vibrant apple onion jam with nice caramelization. It makes sense with a wine type beer, but we did feel like we needed more bread. That was our big issue.
Which we probably could have asked for. We just didn't.
That's true. We could have. Because we each just got like one piece of toast, basically. And there was more to it than that. But the cheese was quite good. I was most impressed by that smoked salmon mousse. Because I'm not big on smoked salmon. But the mousse aspect of it, I don't know. Something about it. It was very like creamy. It was less smoky than you would assume and less fishy.
Correct.
I liked it.
I know. I was like, I'm not going to like this. That sounds gross.
And then you were like, no, it's pretty solid.
And it was good. I mean, I just, like, none of those words sound appealing together. Like smoked salmon, ugh. Smoked salmon mousse, salmon mousse, ugh.
Well, I think this course made sense for this beer because what do you think of when you're having charcuterie or like wine, a cheese plate or anything? Yeah, wine. So it made a lot of sense. It was smart. So for the beer, we already described it, but we said at the time, very grapey and jammy with slight tannic notes. Definitely does not taste like the 10.3%?
No, it's 13.
Tastes more like...
It's 12%.
It says 10.3 on the bottle. I wrote 13% down here, so I don't know what got crossed up.
On the menu that I'm reading from, it says 12%.
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote 13. The menu says 12. The bottle says 10.3. So I don't know.
Okay, well, I don't think it tastes like either of them.
No, I put down that it tastes like 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does. It's like a lighter-bodied Cabernet with sweetness added.
Yep.
So the combination of the beer and food, I put the food dampens the beer sweetness, which was very nice. I really appreciated that about it. The beer increases the cheese funkiness and saltiness, which was interesting. And then it also increases the perception of a slight iron note that you get out of the salmon. You know, I can get like a little metallic note in fish. So overall, I think that the food had a more positive effect on the beer than the beer had a positive effect on the food. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So I would say the good way to do it was eat a little bit of the food, drink some of the beer, cleanse your palate. Food, beer, cleanse palate. Yeah. So.
Okay. So course 2?
Yes, go for it.
So course 2 was an apple smoked romaine salad with lollipop lamb, Charlottetown farm feta, which is a goat farm. Yeah,
I believe so.
So Charlottetown farm feta cheese, pickled vegetables, minted red wine balsamic reduction, and that was paired with a Lichtenhainer. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Which was 4%, and it is a German smoked sour.
Yeah, I believe it's a German wheat smoked sour. Just to be full, you know. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So the food, I put down that it had good acid in the balsamic that added to the lamb flavor, which was very nice. Although the lamb was a bit too rare, which also made it a little too tough at the same time. I think it should have been cooked a little bit longer, maybe a little bit more than a little bit longer, because it was very red.
I almost was like, I don't know if I want to eat this. And plus, I don't really like lamb, but I did eat it. I think that I'm blaming the lamb.
No.
Yes, I'm blaming the lamb chop to my end of night demise.
Well, I ate the lamb chop as well and didn't have a problem. So,
Wow.
But for my taste, I would have liked it done more.
Yeah.
And I think that it would have helped with the toughness. It was a little tough. So yeah. So the beer, I put the smoke and peat flavors are very strong on the smell. And although it smelled like gross leather, to be honest, it didn't have a great smell.
But it wasn't as smoky as I thought it was going to be.
True. I put really low tartness, and the smoke stays relatively low. Has that Cheerio note and a quick note of apricot mixed with peach at the end.
Yes.
And it had a lot of wheat coming through.
I remember that. It was very peachy and apricot-y.
So going into it, you were like...
I was like, I'm going to hate this beer because I do not like smoke in my beer at all. Mm-hmm. And I don't really love sours. But I actually kind of I liked it. It was really complex and interesting and nothing like I've ever had before.
I ended up liking it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I liked it a lot. I think that may have been my favorite beer of the night. No, second favorite beer of the night. Sorry, second favorite beer.
No, there are a couple other ones that I like more than that.
That was really good. So the combination of the beer with the food. The lamb chop increased the smoke in the beer, and the balsamic reduction took the tartness away of the beer. And then the cheese brought the smoke back down. And it was a nice pairing, I said.
Yeah. All of them were good pairings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to the third course.
Okay, third course.
There are 5 total.
Yeah. Third course was the perfect nacho with beer cheese, smoked chicken, pico, key lime crema, hot tortilla chip, and cilantro garnish. And it was the perfect nacho because it was like one nacho.
2 bites, I would say. Yeah, it was it was a very pretty constructed one nacho, but it took about 2 bites to eat it.
Because it was constructed kind of to look like a flower, and then this cilantro or the key lime crema was like the stem, and then the cilantro garnish was like the leaves of the flower stem. So that was paired with a lager, which was their take this and call me in the morning lager with a key lime infusion. Yeah. So I was going into this thinking I was really excited. I wish the nacho was bigger.
Yeah, I know.
It was because it was really good, and I feel like there just wasn't enough of it. And some of the other courses were a little more substantial, which I get. You know, you can't have too much food in a 5-course dinner. But I really liked all their flavors, especially because they also, the regular like restaurant there, they do tacos and they are awesome.
Yeah.
And this nacho was awesome. So like,
it was really good.
Really good at those types of flavors. So,
well, what I liked though is it was a lot lighter than your typical nacho. And nachos usually are kind of greasy, and it totally wasn't. No. It was just nice and crisp. It was clean, really
refreshing.
Awesome. Okay. Real quick note before I get into this: Rebecca has her phone near the microphone for reading the menu, so hopefully there's no interference between the phone and the microphone. But if there is, we apologize.
Yeah,
I mean, she has to have her phone there to read from it. So
I didn't have it all memorized.
Hopefully, it's not a problem.
And the microphone's always closer to me because Carlin's voice projects.
Because I'm louder. All right, so for the food for this course, I put very crispy with nice mellow flavors, not your typical over-the-top nacho drowning in ingredients. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was awesome. If you think high-class nacho, whatever that should mean to you, that's what it was, basically.
Which was good, but man, when I eat a nacho, I want it to be sloppy and like dripping with toppings, like...
I just want these nachos instead, these perfect nachos.
No.
So the beer itself, like we said, we weren't big on this one. This was our least favorite.
I really wanted to like it, and I was hoping I would like it, but the key lime was too strong and too artificial tasting in my mind.
So I put down, it's basically all key lime. There's a slight honey backbone to it. Almost makes me think of a lime seltzer, which they have a key lime seltzer there as well, which I have not tried. I like it for a few ounces, but don't want to go any further. Yeah.
I don't even know if I liked it for a few ounces.
I liked it enough. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't super like it. I was like, it's fine.
The couple next to us, the guy said it tastes like there's 12 limes in here. And I'm like, yeah.
There's a lot.
I wish there were only 6. And then his wife said it tastes like Pine Sol. And as soon as she said that,
I could see that.
All I could think of was Pine Sol. Yeah, so it was okay.
So the combination of the food and the beer, I put food increases the lime flavor in the beer, which ended up not being a good thing because it was already very strong. And I put the beer increases the fried flavors of the nachos, which actually was a good thing. So in that instance, the beer was really enhancing the nacho. Yeah. So that was nice.
Okay. So course 4 was Miller's Farm, which is a local farm. So Miller's Farm smoked and seared prime rib with brie mashed potatoes and mushroom jus.
Now this was a really good course, and it was a lot bigger than I thought it would be for a 5-course meal.
That piece of prime rib was pretty substantial, especially compared to the little nacho that we got.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it wasn't huge, but it was
Plus, it was very tender.
It was so good.
It was very juicy, very tender.
Brie mashed potatoes were so good.
You tasted a lot of brie.
Yeah, it was delicious.
You have to do that right because brie is kind of a milder cheese if you're going to put it in something, so it can be hard to get.
So that was paired with their Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad stuck in a barrel, which is their Belgian quad aged in a rum infused wine barrel.
Yeah. So the food, I put down nice flavor steak that has a salty crust on it. I love like a nice salty crust on the outside of a steak. It's phenomenal. The mashed potatoes have a strong brie flavor with a hint of funk from the cheese.
Yeah.
Very good. Then the beer, I said lots of caramel and a slight plum note. Yes. Smelled like a caramel apple a little bit. The Belgian yeast character stayed very low, which was great for me because I don't like a very strong Belgian yeast character. A little wood comes through along with a red wine tannic note. And then a slight banana does peek through after a few sips, as well as a low level of cinnamon and cherry hanging out in there.
See, was this your favorite beer?
No, this wasn't my favorite, but I would put this ahead of the Lichtenhainer.
Okay,
a little bit.
This was my favorite beer, actually.
This was very interesting.
Very good, very interesting. Again, part of it is because we both don't love Belgian quads, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm not really going to like it. And then you go into a beer like that or anything, and when you like it, it just really makes you love it that much more.
Yeah.
So for me,
especially when you were expecting to hate it.
Right, yeah, when I was like, and then it's good, and you're like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, it was super crazy because there was a lot to unpack with that beer. Yeah. It was just like layer upon layer upon layer of flavor, and it was pretty mind-blowing, to be honest. Yeah. Loved it. So here's the combination. Potatoes increase the caramel and the alcohol astringency. But you said you were not getting that, the increased alcohol level, but you were getting the increased caramel in the beer. The steak was bringing the rum out more with a little bit of a spice note, which I thought was interesting. The beer makes the brie stronger with an increased funkiness to it in the potatoes. The beer mellowed out the salt of the steak and brought the earthiness of the mushroom up. So I think this was probably the course where it was the best relationship between the food and the beer. Like, they both enhanced each other, in my opinion, and it was really cool. So, yeah. Okay.
So, the fifth course was the dessert. And this is also a shared plate. So, again, Charlottetown Farm, which is a local goat farm. So, Charlottetown Farm chocolate goat cheesecake with blackberry. So, it was like a little piece of cheesecake. And then also on the side was a smoked pineapple sorbet. And the sorbet was actually shaped like a pineapple.
Yeah.
And then the top of the pineapple was like an avocado sorbet.
Yeah. It was interesting.
So the cheesecake, the chocolate goat cheesecake was delicious. And then I can't say I did not like the smoked pineapple sorbet at all.
I thought it was interesting and worth trying.
I mean, yes,
I think they achieved what it was kind of supposed to do, but it's just not flavors I like.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't want smoke in my dessert.
Yeah.
It kind of, it could have been good with a piece of ham.
Well, because there was like a little ham note to that sorbet.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
It's
probably because of smoke.
Smoke, yeah. So that was paired with...
my favorite beer.
The chocolate raspberry milk stout.
Yeah. So, for the food, I put super light and fluffy with medium chocolate flavor.
It was so good.
Yeah, and that was the thing about it. Like, it wasn't crazy on the chocolate flavor. It wasn't super sugary. It was very nice.
Almost like a chocolate mousse. Kind of like light and fluffy and airy, kind of like that.
A little bit. I put the blackberry as a nice fruity layer on top. Mm-hmm. And the smoked pineapple sorbet tastes like smoky pineapple ham. Mm-hmm. Like we kind of said. For the beer, I said it was really smooth. Yeah. Lots of dark chocolate with a nice raspberry flavor throughout each sip. Has a very present coffee note in each sip. It has a very low sweetness, which is amazing. And it tastes like a better version of the beer Naked Fish, which was a Duclaw beer for a while. Which is funny because we then talked to Jim afterwards, Jim Wagner, and he said, actually, it's funny you say that because I took the Naked Fish recipe, basically, which was my recipe in the first place, and changed it up to make this beer.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it just... Because I think the biggest difference between the actual Naked Fish and this one is the sweetness. It was a lot lower, and there was like more of a coffee. I felt like the raspberry tasted more artificial in Naked Fish.
Yes.
And the coffee was lower than you wanted, and it was more sweet. It was still a good beer, but I just feel like this version just fixed all the little flaws.
See, it's hard for me because I have such fond memories of Naked Fish because it was just when I was getting into beer. Yeah. And that was, I think, one of the first stouts I fell in love with. So I don't know if I can make such strong statements like you did.
Sure.
But part of it is just because it's nostalgic.
Yeah. So for the combination of the food and beer, I said the cheesecake makes the beer mainly raspberry and coffee, which is totally fine. The beer makes the cheesecake more goat cheese driven, which is also fine because we like goat cheese. The sorbet actually makes the beer taste bad. It just tastes like carbonated water.
That's what I didn't get that pairing at all.
Yeah, the sorbet.
I just feel like it was just a weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me.
The beer makes the sorbet a little less smoky and more sweet. So the beer helped the sorbet. The sorbet destroyed the beer.
It was just a weird pairing.
Yeah. But,
So.
Well, that wasn't. I mean, that was the last course, but then they also included what? Horchata cold brew.
Yeah.
So they had literally cold brew coffee that you could drink that was a horchata type. And I had notes on that. I said creamy with a low level of cinnamon and a nuttiness on the finish. Although it had a little bit of a watery body to it, and I kind of want it to be a little more substantial.
Agreed. Yeah, it was very thin on the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
But it was quite tasty.
Yeah, the flavor was great.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how do you like your coffee, And then we also had additional beers, as we kind of talked about a little bit. We also tried the horchata brown ale.
Delicious.
The Diablo de Leche aged in Knob Creek barrels, which is basically like Devil's Milk from Duclaw, which is a barley wine, a really good barley wine. So that it was basically a really nice barley wine aged in Knob Creek barrels, and then they also had it aged in Wild Turkey barrels. I liked both of them quite a bit. I liked the Knob Creek more because it was more smooth. The Wild Turkey was a little more rough around the edges, but still good. And then you also had the Rock the Red, which was like a red IPA, which was decent. I wasn't a huge fan of it. Yeah, I think so. You just went back for some other stuff, I believe.
I just remember going to the bar a lot. You were talking to Jim, and I just kept sneaking away going to the bar.
Yeah, and you got more of the Cab Beer Nay.
I did, because then someone said to mix it with the raspberry stout, so then I did that.
Right.
Many things led to my demise.
Yeah. Someone hopefully learned a lesson that night.
I did. Lesson learned.
A very tough lesson.
So
it was awesome.
It was so much fun. I hope they do another one. I'm sure they will. And I would love to go because it was. And if you have never been to BC Brewing, it's in Hunt Valley, Maryland. Go there, check it out. It's a treat. They have
the self-serve taps. We've talked about it before.
I have mixed feelings on the self-serve taps.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it is kind of fun if you've never done it before.
And it's also convenient when you want a beer, or if you just want to decide what beer you want, so you can just like do a little
splash.
Ounce or two just to figure it out while you're standing there. So, but it was awesome. Really loved it. And you forgot to mention that at the end of the night, you purchased an ice cream sandwich by the company Nightingale. It was an amazing ice cream sandwich. It was delicious. Like, I'm talking like the cookie portions on the outside were really nice because it was very chocolatey, and it actually had chocolate chips in it. And the ice cream was like fat. I'm talking like 2 inches at least of ice cream in there.
I had
it was vanilla.
Forgotten about that until you had told me later. You're like, remember that ice cream sandwich we had? And I'm like, oh yeah.
You know, maybe ending the night with a lot of dairy wasn't the best.
That was also part of my demise.
Because we actually don't
eat
or drink a whole lot of dairy in our daily lives. Yeah. So
I mean, the combination, it's just a lot of weird. I ate a lot of weird stuff. Like
good stuff, but
yeah, a lot of weird stuff I don't normally eat, and then the ice cream sandwich,
and a lot of beer,
I
think the lot of beer was the biggest part of this equation. Maybe
I don't think. I think it was the ice cream sandwich.
Well, when someone said, "Oh, I feel so nauseous,"
okay. Anyway, so BC Brewing, thanks for the great beer dinner. It was awesome. It was a great way to spend our Valentine's Day. It was the Sunday after Valentine's Day, so I think it was like the 16th.
Yeah, it was.
So it was fun.
I am going to keep my eyes open for when they do another one, because they did say they will do more of these. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled to see when they post that they're doing another one, and we are definitely going. And we'll do another episode on it.
Sure.
We'll do another beer and food episode, because it'll be fun.
Okay. So
but cool.
I guess all we have to say is...
Oh, real quick. Since we haven't done a ton of these episodes, because it's been over a year since we did the last one of these, if people have ideas for some type of food you want paired with beer, send us an email, brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for ideas like that. So send it there.
Okay. So now I think there's nothing else left to say except...
keep it brutal.